Well, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to Navigating Umbraco Upgrade Paths, End of Life and Beyond. We'll just quickly go through the speakers today. Start with yourself, Rob.
Hi everyone, I'm Rob. I'm the .NET Director at CTI. My team runs all the Umbraco work that we handle at CTI. I've been in the .NET space for over 20 years, and I've worked with Umbraco all the way back to version 4.
Thank you, Rob. Fred?
Hello everyone, my name is Frederik. I work as the UK Partner Manager for Umbraco. So in my job, I have the gratitude of working with above 500 agencies across the UK, excelling them, making the best Umbraco experiences. And one of our best partners I'm with here today is our Platinum partner, CTI Digital.
Thank you. You're very kind words, Fred. No, I'm Richard Metcalfe. I'm a sales director here at CTI, and I've put an Umbraco evangelist. I've worked with Umbraco since Umbraco 6. I love Umbraco. It's one of the best CMSs out there. I've input content in countless CMS projects, so I know it pretty well. And hopefully today we're going to impart some knowledge to everyone on this call. Quick guideline. So we are recording this, so it'll go on our website afterwards. So if you have any colleagues who want to watch this, then it'll be available shortly. Submit questions. So the Q&A should be open. Please submit any questions, and then at the end we'll cover any questions that have been answered throughout. If we run out of time, my email is there, r.metcalfe@ctidigital.com. So please feel free to contact me direct with anything after this webinar. That's what we're going to go through today. So a little bit about CTI. We'll go through that quickly. I promise we'll get to the good stuff soon. Going to talk around some of the upgrade paths. There's some a Q&A largely based on what we're seeing from our clients and how we've helped our clients. And Fred's going to talk around some of the options around extended support, and then finish on Umbraco Cloud. So a little bit about CTI to start with. We are based in Manchester, in the northwest of England. We're about to celebrate our 21st birthday in September. Very importantly, we are an Umbraco Platinum partner. We're proud to say we're an Umbraco Platinum partner. We've worked with Umbraco and Fred and the colleagues at HQ for a number of years now. Platinum shows our contribution as well as our commitment to Umbraco. This diagram on the right-hand side shows our 3 key pillars, really. So technology, one of our very key pillars, and obviously this webinar today is very technology focused. We're going to talk about Umbraco. We also do Drupal, we do Adobe Commerce, BigCommerce, Shopify. There's other platforms we do support, but today is all Umbraco. Experience. So we've got a lot of projects. We're going to talk about upgrades and rebuilds today, and we're actually working with some rebuild projects where the client has taken the opportunity to do some user testing and some UX UI. We've got a very experienced team within that, so that's our second pillar. And then growth is regard to once we launch a website, we host, we support our clients, and we've got ancillary services, i.e. SEO, paid search, email marketing, affiliate marketing, social media marketing, basically anything that can throw a traffic through to your website, we will help our clients with. So there are 3 key pillars of CTI. These are our services on a page. I won't go through them all, but I guess we're focusing today on build and run, and we're going to talk around CMS, and we'll talk about Umbraco today. These are some of the clients we're working with right now, and some we've already completed the projects to get them onto later versions of Umbraco. I'll talk through a couple of these. Mind, for instance, very large Umbraco 8 estate, powering several websites. We're halfway through getting those onto Umbraco 13. Balfour Beatty, we've completed their project. Henry Boot, we've done their project. Engineering Council, I think maybe on this call today, actually, we're halfway through their project. Stard's an interesting one. Stard are a large pharmaceutical company. They're a very vast Umbraco 7 and 8 estate, 185 websites, and we're about to embark on a solution to get those to Umbraco 13. That's a few of the clients that are listed there. I'll pass over to Fred to just talk about what are the benefits of using an Umbraco Platinum partner for your project. To you, Fred.
Yeah, so at Umbraco, we rank our partners in 3 different tiers. You can either be a silver, gold, or platinum partner. And if you're even better, you're a contributing platinum partner, meaning you're also embracing Umbraco as a product and contributing to making Umbraco a better product. And this is an accolade that have been achieved by CTI. And why should you also work with a platinum partner? You then work with a partner that has direct access to Umbraco HQ and all the resources hereof. You also make sure that your own Umbraco version has all the necessary security patching and are up to date. And we are also very happy to have Rich on board of one of the community boards, where he's about helping us influencing our roadmaps to make sure that you guys' needs are covered better, where you have a guy like Rich as an advocate for yourself. And also, for example, Rich is a really, really huge consultant. I would actually say one of the best people that understands Umbraco's upgrade cadency, even better than myself. So I'm quite very happy to say that a platinum partner like CTI are validated, trained by Umbraco, and I know that they build in the best way you can build Umbraco, but also because having a guy like Rich also consult clients in the best way commercially to utilize an open source platform more strategically.
Thank you, Fred. Thanks very much. Okay, into the upgrade version paths. So we've got a diagram here. Rob, I'm going to pass over to you to talk around. I mean, we're assuming that most people here today are on Umbraco 7 or 8. We're going to talk around potential up to 13. Over to you, Rob.
Yeah, so depending on how an Umbraco 7 or 8 site is constructed, it's going to determine the upgrade path across versions. So going from 8 to 9 or 7 to 9 is mainly code changes, because Umbraco 9 supports the majority of the content structures that are supported in 8. But it's migrating the code to the .NET Core framework and replacing all that code base that currently exists. That could be a few things. It's not just custom code, it's also some Umbraco code that needs to be changed, as the newer version of Umbraco embraces some of the more modern ways .NET Core handles specific items. So it's a case of just migrating all that code. So that's probably the biggest challenge, because it's a framework shift, shifting from 8 to 9. The shift to 10 and beyond also brings some challenges, such as migrating nested content, which is not supported in later versions. There is tooling that kind of supports that, so migrating that to block lists, so it is available. But there are some specific challenges to going from 8 till 10. Once you're on 10, the upgrade path is very simple. There are minimal, if any, breaking changes between versions. So shifting from 10 to 13 is a relatively swift process.
Okay, thanks, Rob. Thanks very much. We're going to talk through some Q&A now. This is largely based on, as I say, we're working with several clients right now on their upgrades, and these are questions that have come from our clients. So I guess talking through these. So firstly, when is Umbraco 8 end of life? So some key dates here. So the 24th of Feb this year already passed. That's when Umbraco 8 entered the security only phase. So it's still supported, but there's no new features being rolled out for Umbraco 8, which is key to know. And then the 24th of February next year is when it's going to reach its official end of life, meaning that it's not supported, there's no patches for that. And any site still on Umbraco 8 after that date will be, I guess, liable to vulnerabilities. I guess in context of that, Umbraco, they don't release too many security advisories. This year there's only 2 security advisories. There was actually one a week ago, but that was actually only for Umbraco 14. And prior to that, there was only one more. Unlike some CMS platforms, Drupal, for instance, seems to send security advisories every single month, if not like twice a month or so. So it's put it in context, but it's still a very valid point. Now, the last security advisory back in May this year was a medium one, and it posed kind of phishing attacks potentially via the CMS. So it's really, if you stay on 8 after that date, your website will still work, but you are liable. So yeah, so can you still use it after the end of life? As I said, yes, you can still use it, but it's not advised. And these are some of the issues that you'll come up against. So as I say, some of those security issues, you're not provided with those patches. With a supported version, you do have those patches. And us, for instance, as a provider, once those patches are available, they're applied, within 24 hours. And if actually, we'll come onto cloud later on. If you're on Umbraco Cloud, you get those patches automatically. Compliance risks, that's a really important point. We've got several clients, particularly in the public sector, where if they're not on a supported version, they're actually breaking their own compliance by not being on that supported version of the software. So for instance, if you are a Cyber Essential Plus company, which we are, and you're not on a supported version of your CMS, you can avoid that. You know, that will break your Cyber Essentials Plus certification. So there's various clients where, you know, their internal policy is dictating that, and actually some of those external certifications that they have are really important to that client. They need to be on a supported version. And that really important point is the new features. You know, we were talking about Umbraco 13. Actually, we're gonna have a talk about Umbraco 14 actually on this call today. Lots and lots of new features compared to version 8. If you're still on 8 or if you're still on 7, there's lots of features on the later versions of Umbraco. Some really cool features which you're not accessing. And as Rob said, Umbraco 8 onwards is a big shift from .NET Framework to .NET Core. And actually, moving on to the later version of Umbraco, .NET Core itself has vast performance improvements, and hence why working on Umbraco Core, you get a much faster website. So staying on the older versions, you're going to see a poorer website performance. It's going to get slower and slower. And I think everyone's well aware that website speed is a very important algorithm factor within the Google search engine. So another key benefit to upgrade to a later version of Umbraco. What version of Umbraco should you move to? Well, in this webinar, we are going to talk about 14, but we're recommending 13. We like the long-term supported version of Umbraco. So Umbraco have long-term support, and Fred's going to talk about this, LTS versus the STS, standard term supported versions. Umbraco 13 is the current long-term supported version, and that's supported until 14th of December 2026. So that would be the sensible Umbraco version to move to. And some benefits, if you are on 8 or 7 of these later versions. So one, and going back to the point around kind of speed and optimization, WebP support, which is an optimized version of serving images on your website. That was actually released in Umbraco 10, and obviously 11, 12, and 13 now. That's out of the box now, so you know your images will be served like that. Whereas if you're on an earlier version, you may not be serving WebP, and then you're making your website a lot slower than it should be. Really great feature in the newer versions is the block grid editor. If you're on Umbraco 7 and 8, you're probably used to fairly fixed templates, albeit you've got some flexibility in the content you put in there, but the templates are quite fixed. Whereas with the block grid editor, it's this brilliant editor, drag and drop functionality, and we're moving more to a component-based design development where you will have some more kind of, I guess, fixed pages. You might like your home page, or if you've got kind of other templates you want more fixed, but particularly for clients where they want to run regular campaigns and they want the flexibility to use components, a video component, a quote component, a content card, a contact form. The block grid editor allows you to create that content really fastly and really quickly. It's a brilliant tool. Umbraco Forms, you may be familiar with Umbraco Forms. Again, a brilliant add-on to Umbraco. They've had some big improvements. You know, they're very easy to use, even in Umbraco 8. But as it moves on, particularly as you look at that kind of more workflow stuff with Umbraco Forms, so creating forms as easy as it has been, even more so now. But if you want to post those forms to MailChimp, or if you want to post it to your CRM or other places, it makes it much easier with the new workflows that you get within the new version of Umbraco Forms. We've talked around some security, so the later versions, you have that improved protection. We put here around kind of cross-site scripting and other vulnerabilities. Headless capabilities, it's an interesting topic that is becoming more and more prevalent with clients that I speak to. This was launched in Umbraco 12, the Content and Media Delivery API, and obviously it's then into 13 and 14. What these APIs allowed you to do was syndicate your content to other places. So if you've got your Umbraco CMS and you're serving content to your website, that content can be served to a microsite, it could be served to an intranet. So these new APIs do really open up the world of headless for you. And then, as I've talked about these speed improvements, Umbraco 13 runs on .NET Core 8, and it's a very fast and efficient version of .NET, and Umbraco is taking advantage of that underlying platform. Fred, I'm going to pass over to you to talk around long-term supported and standard term supported.
Yes, so just a short explanation of why we have a 6 months major release cadency, and we've done this to applicably to align with Microsoft's .NET releases and also their support timing. So every .NET release has the exact same support phase as Umbraco. And that means that we are the only CMS in the market that are always on the latest version of .NET. But this also has a bit of a hassle with the speed of releases. So we only have a specific set of majors that are long-term supported, and then the ones in between those are standard term supported, or you can also just call them short-term supported. So we release majors like 13 and 17 that are long-term supported for 36 months, and then we have the short-term supported, which are only supported for about a year. And in the short-term supported versions, you would often find newer features, but if your company doesn't actually need that feature, I would always recommend you to stay on a long-term supported version. So I typically say like this: if you need the latest .NET version to run anything, or you need the specific features in the short-term supported version, I think you should talk with a guy like Rich who can help you if this is the right thing to do for your company, or if you should just stay and wait until the next long-term supported version. It's always a business case. So we say that there's 3 ways of strategizing this. You can go to CTI and contract yourself, so make sure that you're always on the latest LTS version, or you can go to contract with CTI and just go for every upgrade every 6 months, because you just always want the newest engine in the car whenever it's out. There's also a mixed strategy, and this is just move around as you like if there's a new feature in a specific version that you like. So it's always just to consult with your agency and make sure that you pick the right version for you. But always recommended by Umbraco is to stay on the latest long-term supported version.
Thank you, Fred. Yeah, the important point, like I like LTS, but the mixed strategy, for instance, like when the last version was Umbraco 10, long-term supported version, and then, as I say, a lot of clients wanted to do headless, and there's a bit of a jump to move to Umbraco 12. So, you know, if a new feature comes out that's really useful, then that's when we speak to our clients and say, yeah, that would be useful for you, and we'll get you to 12. But yeah, as you're right, Fred, they're the 3 key kind of strategies that we advise on. I said we'd talk about Umbraco 14. You know, we are advising LTS, so Umbraco 13, but Umbraco 14 has been released. So I thought it'd be useful just to have a quick slide and talk about some of the features on Umbraco 14. So it is a standard term supported version. It was released in May this year, and it's end of life 30th May next year. We're going to talk about upgrade versus rebuild. If you're on Umbraco 7 or 8, and you do want to move to the very latest version of Umbraco, which is 14, there's not an upgrade path, unfortunately. That will be a rebuild. Some of the biggest updates to note with this version of Umbraco is the back office. It still looks exactly the same. It's Umbraco that we love. They're calling it Bellissima, but it's rewritten completely. It's from the ground up. And one of the key things being rewritten is this API layer. So I talked about the content and media delivery APIs that will release in Umbraco 12. Now, Umbraco 14 releases the management API. Now, this is a very chunky, vast set of 310 API endpoints. And this really, and we're calling it headless first. It's the first headless version of Umbraco. So with the content and media delivery API plus these management APIs, you can do whatever you want with Umbraco. Really moving to this microservice architecture. We've got quite a few clients, for instance, with the back end, they might want to like capture some logs of what happens in the CMS if they have multiple users and they want to know exactly what happens in all those logs. All these endpoints, for instance, could mean that you could send all that data into like a SIEM software product and log all that as well as your hosting architecture. So it's there's a lot you can do with these new APIs. Really importantly, is future proofing though. We're advising Umbraco 13, which is a long-term supported version, but there's some things we need to get the architecture right to be able to move to Umbraco 14 at some point in the future. So there are some features that we're now going to be deprecating in 14. So with that build, we certainly want building that. And getting a little bit technical now, but there's logic that have to be moved out of control as actually into these new API services. And then any extensions, so any packages that have to be split into client-side library and the backend library. So I guess in layman's terms, if you move to 13, but you want to in the future move to 17 and 14, 15, 16 and beyond for the standard support versions, we have to get the architecture correct, and that will minimize the breaking changes from going from 13 to 14. Rob, I'm going to pass over to you to talk around the two key options around upgrade and rebuild.
So essentially, there are two options to move to Umbraco 13. One is upgrading what you have, taking what you currently have in terms of functionality and features and design, and shifting that across to Umbraco 13 via the upgrade routes that we've discussed previously. And the other option is to take a more holistic view of your current site and actually rebuilding in Umbraco 13. So not necessarily just porting over what you have, actually taking a view of where your business currently is and reviewing very specific details about what you want your website to be, and actually rebuilding the site in its entirety. So the first option, you can follow the upgrade path. So following the upgrade path, if you're happy with the editing experience and design of your site as it currently is, this is a viable option. Each site is unique, each Umbraco build is unique with varying implementations, but the majority of sites that are on Umbraco 8 are upgradable outside of some very specific cases. The complexity of the current Umbraco site will determine what that upgrade path looks like. So it's all relative. So the document type structure, custom features, plugins, and any Umbraco code that relied on features that's not supported by the newer versions of Umbraco, all directly relate into the overall upgrade cost and the complexity of it. The next approach is to rebuild the site entirety. So in scenarios where the upgrade route is really complicated or complex, or the site is just naturally coming to its a reflection point where a refresh is needed, a rebuild is a good way of viewing the site and planning to migrate to Umbraco 13 via a full rebuild. Many of our clients are going through this process at the moment. They're taking the opportunity to review their information architecture structure, their UX, their design of their website, and looking to rebuild their site entirety in Umbraco 13, as opposed to just taking across what they currently have. I think one of the added benefits of a rebuild, and I think Rich has touched on this previously, is once you rebuild your site, you can take advantage of the full feature set of Umbraco 13. You know, stuff like the block grid editor is a prime example of that. If your current site is built using listed content or block list, upgrading will just essentially migrate that across to your new build. But if you're rebuilding, you're able to take advantage of the block grid, plan your site against the block grid and its component-led processes, and then utilize all the great new features of Umbraco 13 without being tied to your original version.
Brilliant. Thank you, Rob.
So how can we help you upgrade? So starting point for us is to understand all the details about your current site. And we do that with an audit. So that audit process is us reviewing your current code implementation, getting it spun up, looking at your Umbraco implementation, how your document types are structured, if you have any custom data types, any custom plugins, any custom code that's written, and also any Umbraco features that are not portable. We'll take a holistic view of that approach and understand everything about your existing site and what we need to do to migrate it to the new version of Umbraco. As I said, this includes document types and things like that, just to understand fully all the aspects of your site. So we can be very clear on what needs to be upgraded, how we can upgrade it. If there are elements that can't be upgraded, what the mitigation steps are for those, and how they would affect the site moving forwards. You know, if we have to replace plugins, if we have to replace custom code, we will put that into this audit process and understand fully what we need to do. The outputs of that is a clear audit report, which details all those elements that I've just discussed, all the items that need to be upgraded, what needs to be upgraded, how complex the upgrade process is for those specific items, and also what can't be upgraded and what those steps are to mitigate those. And that will all be supplied in an audit report. So the audit is carried out by one of our Umbraco certified developers. As I said previously, they'll look at the code base holistically and make all the relevant checks to understand what we need to upgrade and break that down. What this audit process does is it gives a really good understanding of the complexities and viability of an upgrade. Once the audit is complete, we can have discussions about what the best approach is, if an upgrade is the viable option, or if we recommend a full rebuild of your site, depending on the outcome of the audit, and working out from there. At the end of that process, we can actually provide costs for both elements, both an upgrade pipeline process and also a full rebuild. So in order to achieve that, we need a copy of your website files, your website code, a copy of your database, and admin access into your CMS. We can sign an NDA before we gain access to your site. And we also hold Cyber Essentials Plus and ISO 2001 accreditations. So your data is going to be safe. If we can't get access to the code, what we'll do is we'll provide a questionnaire to enable us to give a quicker estimate, a ballpark estimate based on those answers, and that'll be the next step for us.
Thank you, Rob. I think it's really important this on this slide is if this audit is to make sure it's viable, if you go on the upgrade approach, I guess, because we've seen a few clients where they've I guess the code hasn't been provided maybe to other agencies, and this has been provided an upgrade cost, and in that situation, that agency is just guessing that cost, and that could lead to problems further down the line in terms of, as Rob said, packages that aren't viable, and actually it could just get quite messy. So this audit, one, says it is a viable approach to the upgrade, and two, we put an accurate estimate on that. So just I guess a bit of a warning there if you do speak to other agencies and they give you an upgrade cost without checking your code. Now we need to check the code to get that information. Rob, still you?
Yeah. So is there anything else to consider? So an upgrade to 813 is a great reflection point for a site. If you feel the design needs a refresh, or the UX improvements can benefit the site, it's a good place to actually stop and have a think about that, as we mentioned on the original slide. But there are some other things to consider. Designing the design update is, as I said previously, an excellent opportunity to kind of review your site and make sure that it works for you currently. But you may want to add some additional or change the design to better reflect where your company is currently at. And we can help with that through our strategy team with qualitative and quantitative user research methods to help with the design process. A pattern library. So all our new builds heavily rely on the block grid editor, and everything is very component based. So we do recommend to our clients to implement a pattern library. What pattern library enables you to do is actually have your components in a very specific framework and test them prior to them being implemented. And it also gives a very good flow of documentation for developers implementing to make sure that the brands and the colors and everything is consistent across everywhere where a component is implemented. Content-wise, as I said previously, it's a great reflection point to understand where you're currently at in terms of your approach to your website. Reviewing the content and understanding if the structures work currently, if you would like to change the information architecture in any way, it's a good place to kind of do that. And we can use analytics as well when reviewing your site to make sure that we don't necessarily port everything. You only import the most important content, and the content that's not really relevant to your visitors of your site is dropped off. And that's a good way of handling that sort of stuff. In terms of hosting as well, Umbraco is very flexible. Obviously, you can host it in Azure or any sort of hosting environment you have. But Umbraco Cloud is an excellent service that can be potentially tapped into, and it definitely should be considered if you're going through a rebuild and upgrade process.
Great, thank you, Rob. Okay, brilliant. Let's look around extended support. Fred, I'll pass over to you, but this is really, if you have an Umbraco 8 project and you're worried or you think you're not going to meet the deadline, here are some options around extended support. Over to you, Fred.
Yeah, so through Umbraco partners that can screw the screwdriver if it's being necessary, we can offer an extended support for Umbraco 8. We had the same scheme around Umbraco 7, but a little different. We've taken on the experience that we have from the XLTS program for version 7 and now made it even better for version 8. So the XLTS is an option for you who cannot meet the deadline. And basically, the thing that you're buying here is extended security patches for your Umbraco 8 site, which means that you can extend the support uniquely for your project, but only getting security updates if there's a vulnerability found. You can purchase this from the 1st of October this year, and we sell this in 2 products. So it's not a subscription, but it's 2 products. And you can either buy 6 or 12 months, and you can see the dates listed in here. And I know it's a bit weird that it's not something that are starting in February next year, but this is because we as a company want everybody to undergo within the same periods, so everybody has the same cutoff dates. So the extended long-term support is a bundle where it's also including a cloud standard package. If you need a bigger package or more projects to cover your project, then it's just something that will negotiate it on top of that. But as standard, you receive a cloud standard plan, so you can move your Umbraco version 8 projects onto Umbraco Cloud for the next time of development. We have 12 and 6 months option, and it covers the dates from either 1st of January until 21st of December 2025. If you buy 6 months at first, you can also buy another 6 months if that are needed, but comes with a bit of a premium on top of the price. Right now, the plans to have extensions for 2026 is something that we are still evaluating, but it will be depending on how many will undergo XLTS this year. So it's not something that we have planned for now. That's about it.
Okay, thank you, Fred. And then lastly, as Rob mentioned, Umbraco Cloud, if you're reviewing an upgrade or a rebuild, it's an opportunity to actually review your hosting architecture as well. We said Umbraco Cloud is a brilliant product. It's based on Azure. Umbraco very cleverly wrapped their product around Azure, made it and fine-tuned it, I guess, to work well with Azure. So back to Fred just to talk around some of the kind of benefits of Umbraco Cloud.
Yes, so a lot of the projects, 100,000 of those are built before the days of Umbraco Cloud on version 7 and version 8. So a lot of them are still on other hosting environments, but a lot of the hassles that have been around these versions could have been prevented if you were on Umbraco Cloud. But unfortunately, Superman wasn't born by that time. But now Umbraco Cloud is a platform as a service, and that means that you would be up to date on security and minor versions, but major versions will still have to go under through an agency to make sure that there are no breaking changes. It's a layer built on top of Azure, meaning that we can easily host and manage Umbraco Cloud in a hosting infrastructure, even as easy so you can do it without a developer in many cases. So normally we say that you save around 10 to 15% of the developer's time on the project, and that can be invested to making the Umbraco project even better for the client. We try to simplify the way of doing hosting, so you can set up a project and have it up and running in just a minute. And even as a non-developer, you're able to manage the hosting, set up the host names and all the things where you often would have to contact your agency, but you can actually do most of it yourself or get help from Umbraco support. The best things with Umbraco Cloud is that you actually have direct and scalable support with Umbraco HQ, meaning that you get an SLA directly with Umbraco HQ through the agency as well. And it also lowers the cost of ownership, meaning that you can get high performance hosting with all the extra Umbraco extensions included, like Forms and Umbraco Deploy, and other Umbraco licensed products like Commerce, Workflow, or your Marketing Suite, which we just recently acquired. And in that package, it's not just hosting, we also integrated Cloudflare. So every project on Umbraco Cloud has a Cloudflare enterprise license running to the project, which gives you the speed of lightning catching and loading times. My favorite product on Umbraco Cloud is the baselines, and I'm just going to make it easy for you to understand. We host Carlsberg, which is probably our all favorite beer here. Plus, I'm wearing a Guinness shirt today, but Carlsberg hosts about 400 projects on Umbraco Cloud, and when they acquire a new brewery, they can easily integrate that project into the technical infrastructure of Carlsberg. So let's say they can make a copy of their baseline, and then it gets all the features of the exact same project, so they can leverage the new brand which they acquired onto new markets quickly and efficient. And I know that some on this webinar is looking at this, and it is really cool when you have a lot of websites that are pretty more standardized or needs features that you can manage it horizontally and down vertically, making sure that all of your websites can more or less likely do the same things and has the newest and latest features without having to develop the projects individually. All right, I think that was about it.
Right. Okay, let's wrap it up now. Follow material. So anybody that's got the email series may have downloaded this already, but we have got two guides, one aimed at the marketer, one aimed at the IT. just around more information, about I guess what we talked about today, kind of about that upgrade routes, and anyone who's signed up to this will receive that. That'll be available on our website too. The emotional ending. The Umbraco upgrade is just the start. Let's go on a journey together. It's cheesy, but I like it. Brilliant. There's some contact details there. As I say, we'll go through some Q&A now, but there's my contact details there. Get me on LinkedIn if you want, or direct r.metcalfe@ctidigital.com. I'll stop on this and see if we've got any questions we want to cover off. Let's have a look. We've got one from Thomas, probably Fred. Baseline's only available in Umbraco Cloud. I believe the answer is yes to that, but Fred, do you want to take that one?
Yes, just a bit of elaboration. Well, it is a product available on Umbraco Cloud, but if you host yourself on Azure, you can build a like-minded environment, but would have a quite big cost of doing so yourself, because it has to be integrated with all the development from Umbraco to make sure that you get the patching and upgrades across down the line on projects, and then it also requires you to build the baseline product itself.
Indeed. As you say, Fred, Baseline is one of my favorite features as well. It's the ability to spin up a site quickly, but actually the ability to, if you want to spin up a site and actually then detach it from the baseline, because you want to do a bit more bespoke development around that, that's another thing you can do. So actually you keep 10 sites connected to the baseline, and then any new feature component will get that component. And then maybe your site that's a bit more technically different stays detached from the baseline. It's a really, really good feature. Yeah.
I think just overall baselines is if you have a big company with a lot of multiple brands underneath, or a lot of websites in different regions, it's the best way to centralize and manage it all from the top, development wise, so you don't have to invest in development teams across the whole world. So yeah, it is also my favorite feature, nevertheless, also because we get a good amount of projects coming in that way, and we see that is one of the big drivers for Umbraco Cloud. And I see another question coming in.
Thomas again, does Umbraco have some kind of web analytics, like page views, something that we've used as an alternative to GA4?
Oh, that's a very good question, and just in the right timing. No, it's not something we have out of the box on Umbraco Cloud, but we have something called Marketing Suite, which is a company we recently acquired. So we have this whole marketing suite now where you can check page views, have analytics, AP testing, and personalization in a package, which will be available through Umbraco Cloud, but also on premise as well.
Brilliant. Thomas, I believe, I think you're from Stade, Germany based. The other one that we have used in Germany is we've got a client called Uniper, and we implemented Piwik Pro Analytics as an alternative to GA4. That seems to be working quite well. So that'd be another one I'd recommend for that. Do we have any other questions at all? Just got those two so far from Thomas. Please, as I say, add them into the Q&A if any questions. If not, as you say, my details are there, and I'll be sending details after this, so you can email me direct, and we'll cover any questions there. Brilliant. Okay, I don't think we've got any other open questions to cover off. So, Fred, thanks for joining us again.
Thank you.
Thanks for your time, Rob. And yeah, we'll hopefully speaking with you soon. Thanks very much.